every day I'd get ready for work and I'd have to like wet my whole head again and then brush it out and towel dry it and then try to like make it not look like a comb over. When you walk through the front automatic
Oh,
door, it just blows. Every time I'd walk through, I'd be like, oh my God, and I'd have to like finger comb it back and then look to see if it was okay. Because I had always kind of wondered, like, maybe I should just do it. Maybe I should just see what it's like. It was always like I could deal with it, but as far as like reactions from other people, I wasn't sure if I was so ready for that. This guy would just come in and he'd want to come up to the counter where I'd be at and he'd just like bash my hair. And a couple times customers would say something to him. And after a while, I thought, like, I don't even know why this is bothering me because I don't like this guy. I don't, but it would bother me, and that would just sort of because I was self-conscious about it.
yeah.
Whereas now, if the same thing would happen, I don't really think I'd care. I kind of understood that by just being honest and telling people, like, yeah, I was losing my hair. Like, so then if someone was like, oh, you're going bald, like, yeah, like, and my eyes are brown and I wear size 8 shoes. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, literally. How's it going, everybody? And welcome to the Baldcafe podcast. In this episode, we've got Luke. He's joining us from Pittsburgh. He's 25 years old. Luke, it's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for coming on. Thanks for having this chat.
thanks for having me.
I wanted to, dive into your story a little bit more, hear more about it. For you, this whole hair loss thing, when did it start for you?
It was probably actually when I was about 19, I'd say. I um I had this whole struggle with getting um into this school and stuff. And I was finally there and everything, and I'd be like getting ready in the morning, and I'd start to notice that like there was hair falling out, and I kind of wasn't so sure about it, so I'd be looking in the mirror and always like grabbing like a second mirror, and I had like one of those little handheld ones, and I'd be like looking, and I started to notice, and then I'd ask like my family members, and they'd tell me, oh no, that's just how it's always been. Or I'd be like, well, my hairline, I feel like it's looks like, and they'd tell me, no, your hairline's just always been like that, and kind of just, I think, wanted to make me feel better. So I sort of just kind of went with it, but I felt stressed, and then it sort of just kept going on from there.
Right. People were trying to reassure you, but you were kind of pretty certain, okay, no, I think there's something going on here. What was your first sort of reactions to it? Was it a big freak out, or did you kind of try and chill with it, or were you immediately searching for like treatments and things like that?
At first, I had hoped that, maybe I was just wrong, and I kind of started looking for like what are reasons that hair could be falling out. Is there like I don't have the best diet, so I thought, like, do I maybe have like a deficiency in something and that's causing it? Or my dad has problems with his thyroid, and I know that that can cause hair loss, and I was hoping like, oh, maybe I should see if I get diagnosed with that, maybe that'll save it. um, and then like these other things where I'd look that like your body changes every 7 years, or that you shed more hair every 7 years, and I thought, well, I'm almost 21, maybe that's it, maybe it's just a little early, and like things like that. And then eventually I kind of thought like, no, I think I got to do something. So I started researching like minoxidil, Rogaine, stuff like that, and I tried some different like generic ones and then the actual one, and um, I was trying those while I was at school and stuff, and then when I'd come home, and I'd kind of like, I wasn't quite sure that it was gonna work or anything, and I thought like, I don't know, and I would look for like long-term testimonials for that to see like, this stuff's been around for a while. Is there anyone that's used it for like 50 years and they still have their hair or something? Because I'm always looking at like a long-term type of thing. Like, I want to have a plan that's gonna last. And I just wasn't finding anything.
Yeah.
So I tried it for a bit, and it made my hair feel kind of weird because I always had sort of longer hair. Um, and it was just a pain to get it in there to like actually get it to make contact with your scalp. So I tried that, and then I had looked into different things about Propecia, and I looked at how some people will use that and the minoxidil, but it just seemed like there were a lot of side effects, and I had seen my dermatologist actually, and they just sort of were like, oh, well, you could get over the counter minoxidil, and weren't very like, gun ho about anything, didn't really
Yeah.
sort of, I kind of just thought, and then also I sort of thought to myself, like, well, maybe there's like treatments that are just expensive and most guys just think, oh, that's too much money, I don't want to do. And I thought, like, if there's something that really works and it's long term, I don't care if I have to make payments on it if it's real or something.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't a magic potion to fix it. So
No.
then a few years ago, I I had kind of given up on it for a while. Then I started to see it going worse and worse, and I'd notice more hair coming out, and I'd be always looking at the back of my head. Then I actually tried this other thing that was advertised on, I don't know if you've ever heard of Grinder.
Yeah, yeah, the app, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, yeah,
So
very
they always
famous.
advertise things like this. This
Yeah,
one's
Hims.
Hims.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've rebranded or if there's just another one now that's called Keeps, but they always
Yes.
have these, same. They have the same like
Same
font.
thing, just different company, I think. Yeah.
Right, right. So I did a subscription with them. I forget if it was like $40 or something a month, and I thought it's worth a try. So they gave me these finasteride pills, and then these like gummy vitamins and stuff, and then there was a shampoo. So I was trying that, and I did that for a while, and then I'd sort of like forget to take the pills, or I'd forget to take the vitamins, and I just wasn't sure that it was really working. And I guess the thing with me was that at a certain point I realized that even if it did work, it was only going to maintain what was there, and what was gone wasn't going to come back.
No.
So it was kind of like, well, what's the point? Because this shampoo kind of makes my hair feel gross. Because I was used to like these other shampoos that had conditioner and they made your hair smell like I don't know, charcoal and sage and all that junk. Like,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I always liked that, and this other stuff was just kind of like,
Yeah.
So it was like, well, why am I using this if I'm not even like
Enjoying it.
fix it?
Yeah.
So then I sort of just gave up on that, and they were charging me every month, and I had like boxes and boxes of all this stuff. I still have like 8 bottles of vitamins that
Really.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna take.
Yeah.
So eventually I just called and I canceled the subscription, and then they try to tell they send you these things like, oh, make sure you continue your subscription, you don't want to lose your progress, and they try to make you feel like bad about yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
And I just was like, no. So
Yeah.
I kind of just gave up on that, and I just sort of went along with it, and then that's when I really started to watch like the videos. I saw a few from Entrepreneurs in Cars and Max De Silva and a couple other guys. Basically, I just sort of scroll through YouTube to kind of see like which guys I thought were attractive that were advertising it, so I could kind of be like, oh, okay, well, that
Yeah.
doesn't look bad, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then just recently, like probably I watched a few of yours back then. That was a couple years ago, and then just this past year, like a little bit more, and then really in the last few months, I've been watching like a bunch of them and stuff. And it really just I just started to like think about it, and because I had always kind of wondered, like, maybe I should just do it, maybe I should just see what it's like, but it was always like I could deal with it, but as far as like reactions from other people, I wasn't sure if I was so ready for that.
Yeah.
Because I've had like a lot of bad reactions from people for other things in my past, and
Yeah.
when I was younger, I mean, not to go too far off topic, but when I was younger, um, a lot of like probably, oh, I don't know, like 11 through like 13, 14, something like that. A lot of people were really mean to me when I was in school and stuff, and made me feel really badly about myself. And they'd like make fun of me and stuff. And at the time, I didn't realize I was gay. And, like, and things are even different now from that was like, oh, I don't know. When I was 14, that was like 9 or no, 6 or
Early
something, like
2000s, I
11 years
guess.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was even different then. But it was still, I was raised like Roman Catholic.
Right.
So I was raised to, and we weren't like, go to church every week type people or anything. But just everything I had ever seen, it was like, no, there's something wrong with that. So I thought, no, that's not, you. So there was all this conflict of people like making fun of me for something that I didn't really think I was. And I was actually pretty depressed for the whole time I was through like middle school until I actually went to high school, like ninth grade. And then by high school, people had kind of matured, and you sort of just like got along with each other, and no one was really like trying to get at each other. People were really mean to me back then, and I actually was not quite suicidal, but would think about things like that, and just sort of. So it was a really low point in my life, and it was based on like um, just the way people would treat me. Um, and that just sort of stuck with me. And even now, like later on, not so much in recent years, but as I've gotten older, like sometimes there'll just be like after effects. Like when I like I said, once I got to high school, um, it was kind of like a lot more like chill. I would hang out with like the kids that were in art and stuff. We'd all talk, we'd hang out. I'd like openly talk about boys and stuff, and we'd just, nobody cared. But once in a while, it's like there'd be an aftershock of like the way that people were to me before. Like
Yeah.
there have been a few times where I've driven to a store and pulled up in the parking lot, and I love to shop and whatever, but pull in the parking lot and then I'd like if I sat there too long in the car, like if I got out right away, went in the store, whatever, if I sat too long in the car and I started to think, then I'd be like, oh my God, people are gonna look at me and they're gonna think something bad about me, and then
Really. Yeah.
I'm just gonna feel really bad about myself, and I'm just gonna freak out,
Yeah.
and I just drive home.
Yeah. Just kind of what like built that sort of, well, it's anxiety, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not normally like that, but just once in a while it would
Every now
come
and again.
up.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't so much because now I'm
Good.
sort of just like past that. But for a while, but anyway, like thoughts of that have sort of stuck with me as far as like, well, what if someone says this about me and then I'm gonna feel just as bad as I did back then?
Yeah.
And to boot, I don't know if I told you or not, but like what I do for work is I'm a manager at a grocery store.
Yeah.
So I see like hundreds of people every day, and a lot of them are the same people. And I've been there for so long that they all know me and stuff. So it's like anything that you change, everybody has an opinion, everybody
Right.
has a comment, everybody has to tell you like this or that.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of like I mean, all of the employees don't, they wouldn't really like say anything rude to me because I'm their boss, but
Yeah.
like the customers and stuff that would come in, the vast majority of them just normal. There's a few that are kind of like mean and stuff, and then there's a
Yeah.
few I really like, but and actually at one point when I was really struggling, before I kind of was figuring out what to do a few years back, this one customer in particular would come in and he would make fun of my hair
Right.
because it would get too long, but it would get too long because I wouldn't want to go get it cut because I'd think like, well, it's not going to look good anyway. I
Right.
don't like, and I mean, I just sort of let it go, and it would get shaggy, and then sometimes I would get it cut. I'd feel a little bit better, but I just I didn't feel like bothering with it because every time I'd go to get it cut, I'd think about my hair, and that would think about that it was falling out. So this guy would just come in, and he'd want to come up to the counter where I'd be at, and he'd just like bash my hair. And a couple times, customers would say something to him, like to get him to go away, but it would just and And after a while, I thought, like, I don't even know why this is bothering me because I don't like this guy. I don't. but it would bother me, and that would just sort of, because I was self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if the same thing would happen, I don't really think I'd care. Yeah, but I guess there was a lot of anxiety as far as like how people would react and stuff.
Yeah. But so you eventually, as you're going through this journey, you kind of toyed with some of the treatments and things like that. Well, I say toyed, kind of, you used them, and slowly your sort of view on it is drifting towards, oh, maybe there's a different way, right? So like you said, you start browsing, see how some of these guys are looking with a shaved head, but you didn't initially just go for it because of that sort of anxiety and what's happened through the past, fearing like people's reactions, which is very normal. I'm sure there are literally thousands of people watching this or will listen to it and completely relate. A video I put out just this evening, actually, one of the guys said it's not actually, you don't fear so much how you're going to look bald or with no hair. You're just fearing how people are going to react to that. And it's interesting, isn't it? And it's quite easy to get that sort of fears, and they really build up and prevent you from taking action on it. But as it sort of went on, eventually, of course, you did kind of go for it. For you, what was like the catalyst? What really made you say, you know what, I'm just going to do it? What was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, and you just went for it?
I told one of my coworkers, who's actually a close friend, I like joked with him and said like, "Oh yeah, you like to make fun of my insecurities or something," and he had like no idea what I was even talking about. And so then I didn't want to tell him about it because they had said like, because we'll all stand there together and we'll talk about people and stuff, and they'd say, and I'd like, you know, check out a guy or something and say something to them, and they'd say something like, "Ew, he's bald" or something,
Yeah.
and I'd be like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so so I eventually I told him what that was, and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and I'd be like, "No, no, that's not it. Like, I'm not mad at you. I just sort of, whatever."
Yeah.
So then I started to talk to him about it and how I was feeling really anxious about it. Then I talked to my other close friend, who's really um, kind of like a brother to me, and I talked to him about it, and then I just sort of was like, I think I'm just gonna cut it off. I'm just gonna like shave it off and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I made this whole plan, like I write our schedule there, so I made this plan where I took like 2 of my days off on one week and then my vacation day, and I took 2 more days off the next week, and so I just lined up these 5 days so that I could sort of um I guess like get used to it and make sure that I was like emotionally comfortable.
Yeah.
So I worked a really early shift right before I was done, and then I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So it was like 2 weeks, and I was thinking about it, and I was talking to those two friends and stuff, and then eventually to my younger sister about it. And I just sort of was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. And they were all, like positive, and
Good.
my the one friend was kind of like, I mean, I think he'd like look, and he was like, I feel like you still have some more time to go with it, and maybe it's a little bit. I forget if he said like dramatic or drastic, or I think it was drastic or something.
Yeah.
Um, he said, but that's you. I mean, he said, I think it'll be okay. So I was like, yeah, okay, because I said, I know I could kind of like hide it a little bit longer, but I was just kind of sick of, like I had told you before, like I would every day I'd get ready for work and I'd have to like I'd wake up and I always had long wavy hair. So I'd have to like wet my whole head again and then brush it out and towel dry it and then try to like make it not look like a comb over, but and I was just sick of it. So but they were supportive, so I was like, you know
Good.
what, I'm gonna go for it. Yeah.
And after you went for it, you said you had a few days to kind of get used to it. And so over those few days, what did you kind of did you sneak out and try and get some exposure, collect some reactions from strangers or different people? How was your initial reaction? Like, did you feel that sort of sense of comfort from doing it, or was it like a bit of a process to get used to it?
Right away, like I started with my beard groomer tool that I usually use, and I just sort of went like right down the middle, and I buzzed it down to like a 1 first, and I went down the middle, and I was kind of like, okay, all right. And I still had like my beard was a lot longer, but it needed some attention. So I buzzed it right down the middle, and then I took it all down to a 1, and then I sort of like took pictures all around and looked at how it looked like that with the beard, and I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. I can
Yeah.
do this. So then I took the guard off, and then I buzzed it down all the way, and I was like, okay, yeah, this doesn't look so bad. I don't have like a third head hiding under here or anything. That's okay. So, so then I groomed up my beard. I got out my body groomer. I did everything else, and then I got in the shower and I took the razor. And then I was looking, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do this.
Good.
So, and then I think I went to like Walmart or something, and nobody looked at me. Nobody
Yeah.
reacted. And, partly also though because where I live is like a half hour away from where I work. So no
Right.
one knows me here anyway. So it was just strangers.
Yeah.
So kind of like, yeah, nobody cares that you're bald.
Yeah. And your perception of that, was that like a disappointment, or was that good to kind of get that reassurance that, oh, no one actually cares? Were you
I
surprised
feel,
by that?
you know what? No. And I feel like because, like I said, since I see so many people every day, and a lot of guys that I see um, that have the shaved head and stuff, they'll come into the store and nobody like looks at them except me if they're really attractive. But like in
Yeah.
general, most people don't even acknowledge them.
No.
They're
No.
not even there.
No. And so, well, especially not just for having the shaved head, right? They're just the same like any other guy, really. So,
Right.
so you've been back to work since, right?
Yeah.
So you're the people that you frequently see in that. What have people said to you? Any comments that have stuck? How's that been?
Almost every single person that I work with had to come up and have a reaction and ask, "Oh, what happened? What did you do?" All but one have been positive though.
Good.
Um, so, or like a couple were just like neutral, like, oh, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, they were all positive. Like, my first day back was actually, um, I do like 4 9-hour days and one 18-hour day. So the first day back was an 18-hour day. So I
Blimey.
start at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I work until 11 o'clock at
Is
night.
that legal?
Um, apparently,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I went back 5 o'clock in the morning. I have like the first hour by myself. Said hi to the girls in the bakery, and they came over and they were like looking through my window, like, "Is that you?" And they said, "Oh, I like that. I like that." And they were so nice. But a couple of them are like, my grandmas type
Yeah.
people, so
Yeah.
they're all, sweet. But then as time goes on, then I have to let people in the front door. Then the store starts to open, and the girls like in my department came in and they were like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" And then they'd be like, "Oh my God, you look so sophisticated." And
Yeah. Good. Good.
and I wear like a shirt and tie to work, so they'd say like, "Oh my God, you look so good like that." And but basically all positive.
When they ask you like, oh, what happened? Like, what did you do? Did you tell them like, oh yeah, this is something I've been dealing with for a while, or how did that conversation go?
What I've told every single person, including like from the person I work with all the time to like the most like once in a while, like once every few months type customer that's just like, "Oh, you look different." I've told them all, yeah, my hair was falling out in the back and I was kind of sick of um I was just kind of sick of it. Like it really made me stressed out. And we have like this, I guess it's called an air curtain, I think. When you walk through the front automatic
Oh
door, it just blows to,
yeah,
I guess, keep the air or the heat
run
inside.
through it before like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So every time I'd walk through, I'd be like, "Oh my God," and I'd have to like finger comb it back and then look to see if it was okay. And then when I open the store and start at 5 o'clock in the morning, I have to let myself in with my key, but not everyone has a key. So then every
Fair.
time someone comes, I have to go stand in this curtain, unlock the door, and then be like, "Oh, hey, good morning."
Yeah, yeah.
So I was so glad to, and I
Not
told a few of them that too. I was like, you know what? I'm sorry that I was so agitated every time I have to let you in the morning, but that's
that was
why.
why. Yeah. And so did you being able to say that, and speak it, does that feel good? Because I talk about that all the time. Like that's something that really helped me, just to put it all out there, and it's like just such a like all the weight off your shoulders. Was that the same experience for you?
Yes. And I think one of my biggest beliefs is in being honest and never trying to like lie or cover something up. Um, the closest thing I'll do to lie is just omit something. If I don't want to share something, I'll just omit it.
Yeah.
But like in general, I just believe that if you're honest, then the truth can't surface and embarrass you later, because I believe it always will.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that is something that I've learned from, like I told you, when I was 16 when I started coming out to people as gay. After I had struggled with it for years and stuff, and I didn't really understand it when I was 16, I I thought this guy had a crush on me. He would joke around with me and stuff. And at first I made it like, oh, he has a crush on me or something, and I had a crush on him. So
Yeah.
once I started to realize that, then I spent, I think it was like 4 or 5 months just sort of coming to terms with that all on my own.
Mm,
And then I came out to like one friend at a time. Then
right.
eventually my baby sister, who's like my best friend. And then at one point, like by the time I was a junior or senior in high school, I was like out to everyone except all of my family except my baby sister. So there was always this lingering thing hanging over me that,
Right.
I would go around school and I'd talk about boys and I'd be open and honest with everyone, but I was terrified of how my parents and my older sister and my family would react. And so there was always like this thing that I was covering up, and it just made me anxious all the time. So then when I was finally 18, like a week before my birthday actually, I came out to my parents, and it was my dad was just kind of silent. My mom's like a real worrier, so she kind of just like exploded. And
Yeah.
she wasn't even mad about it, but she was so, because
Like
she
worried.
exploded. Yeah, like really
Yeah.
worried. Like she exploded. She like screamed and yelled and stuff. And then I flipped out on her, and then I like went to my room and stuff, and I was like, well, I'll just leave, and all this like crazy stuff. And then right after that, she was like on the phone crying to my older sister that I was gonna have a hard life, and that was her whole concern. And
Yeah.
it all came from a place of love, and um, but then over time, and like now, it's not even a thing for them, and it hasn't been for years.
Yeah.
But back then, it was just sort of new. But over time, it got better. But once I had told them, it was like, well, now it's out, and I'm free, and being honest with it, and not trying to like pretend like I was straight or something to anyone
Yeah.
made it feel like, because then if somebody wanted to come up to me and like call me gay or call me a faggot, I was just like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and so I kind of had that lesson earlier on in life, and
Yeah.
so I kind of drew on that as I was sort of
Dealing
mirroring and
with
drawing
this.
parallels to this situation, and so I kind of understood that by just being honest and telling people like, yeah, I was losing my hair, like it was,
You would
that's
feel
just
a lot
what it
better for it.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then if someone was like, oh, you're going bald, like, yeah, like, and my eyes are brown and I wear size 8 shoes, like,
Yeah. Yeah, literally. No, I'm so pleased you've obviously learned so much from these experiences, and being able to carry those on to the next thing. And it definitely, it makes you a whole lot stronger for it, rather than getting deeper. It's just like if you if you struggle to get the truth out there, and it is difficult, of course, but like you did it, right? Slowly, like person by person, you build. It's like you the freedom like comes in. You know, you get more and more free. Whereas I think the opposite to that, if it was like, you know, you kind of don't tell this person, and then you got to tell another lie, you know, or you got to hide it from someone else, and that builds, and you just sink deeper and deeper, right, into this like anxiety and this anxious place and whatnot. So I'm really pleased you could kind of, yeah, I guess learn from those experiences, and I think it's definitely a lesson we can all learn from it. You know, is if you can talk about it, especially, and just get it out there. You're just like, you disarm anyone that tries to talk shit about that sort of thing, you know,
Right.
because you're the one you're putting the information out there. It's no secret that for you to like use against me, you know. So no, massive respect for that. I want to, seeing as we're on the topic, and you mentioned it earlier, right, the app Grinder. Now I don't have direct experience, but I've heard of it. But people ask me all the time about things like dating apps and stuff like that. So do you still use it for like
I,
dating and things like that?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So, and that was actually something else that made me really terrified. I mean, I think all guys are worried they're not going to be attractive and
So
stuff.
does it work like Tinder? Like you put pictures up and you have a like profile and you match
Yeah.
with people. Is that how it
So
works?
it's kind of like Tinder. It's more along the lines of like, it's like you have a grid,
Oh
like this.
yeah, like Instagram type, a bit like
Kind
Instagram.
of, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And but you don't have to match with anyone first.
Okay. But it works on the principle of like you only really have basic information and pictures that other people put out there for you to kind of
Right.
like base. Oh, do I like this person? Do I like the look of this person? Right.
That's
So was
exactly.
that a fear for you as well? And how has that been? Because you know, dating and stuff like that is one of the biggest concerns I think for guys when they're losing their hair.
I have Tinder, I have Grinder, I have another app that's called Recon that's also just a gay app. There's like Daddy Hunt, Mr. Scruff. There's a whole bunch
Loads.
of them that I've
Yeah.
used at the time. Right when I decided I was gonna go for it, I deleted all my pictures off of all of them and I turned off my I guess whatever it is that makes your discoverability on Tinder.
Right.
I turned it off so nobody could be matching with me for my pictures as I was then
Yeah.
because I didn't want them to like match with me and then see my updated picture and be like, oh,
Right.
match.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I did that and then like right after I did it, like the next day, I took just a couple pictures and I put them up on all of those. And honestly, not the same guys, but probably the same frequency of messages and matches and stuff as before.
Good. Good.
We're coming up.
Yeah. Now, do you feel more comfortable like putting yourself out there into that like dating world, or do you feel more confident? Like, how do you feel in yourself, like having shaved it off and kind of moved on from it?
I do feel more comfortable, I think, because now that I'm kind of, I guess, advertising it the way that it really is, um, if someone approaches me or someone matches with me or starts to message me or something, or even like, after all this quarantine goes away and stuff, and you're actually able to go out to a bar or something, if a guy approaches me, then I know that he already knows that like I'm bald and he obviously doesn't care. Whereas before, like I haven't had like a steady boyfriend in probably like 7 years. I was just afraid that a guy would be attracted to the way that I looked that day, but
Hmm.
maybe like a month down the road, or if he saw my hair at the wrong angle, or if he noticed that my hairline was receding in the corners and stuff, that maybe he'd think like, oh no, you're going bald. I don't want to be around you. And granted, I wouldn't want to be with someone who would be like that anyway, but I also wouldn't want to be emotionally invested in someone and then be sort of crushed again.
Yeah.
But now, having it out in the open, it's kind of just freeing. Like, yeah, like if a guy starts talking to me, he already knows, and I'm not really too self conscious about anything else. So,
Good. Good. So this was like that's good. You know, it's obviously the thing I talk about as well is just that it is genuinely like a freeing feeling, you know, just not having that worry. And I especially like what you said. It's like now when you're out there, when you meet different people, all the interactions through work, whatever, it's like you're exactly, how can I say that? The saying, like, you exactly what it says on the tin. Like, you're not hiding anything. Like, what you see is that's how it is. There's no like, oh, is he gonna discover this, or I've got to, when am I going to tell him about that? And so you could just be much more relaxed and like yourself,
Right.
and when you have these conversations. So no, I'm really happy to hear that. Definitely. The last thing I kind of want to touch on, is your advice, like through your experience, through dealing with losing your hair, and your sort of time after it, for guys, who are dealing with the same problem, right? What would you do? You have advice for, or looking back, do you think, oh, I would have done this differently, or do you think how you dealt with it was like it was definitely right for you? What would your advice be to other people that are kind of struggling to deal with their own hair loss?
I kind of wish I would have done it before. I guess I'd say, I mean, you have to do it when you're ready, I guess. Really think about it and watch some videos and listen to some other guys' stories. And I feel like when you actually see a bunch of, not just one or two, but a bunch of other guys like you've put on your channel, um, how they feel so much better after. I think my advice would just to be honest with yourself first and just realize that you're going to have to deal with it unless you're comfortable with it just slowly falling out. But if you're not, like, to just sort of really think about it and not drive yourself crazy. And when you're ready, like, if you have to take a little bit of time, like, by yourself, I mean, I know that's what I needed. I needed like that little cushion of to make myself ready. I'd say deal with it by yourself for a little bit, really think on it, and then talk to a friend or two, see what their opinions are, but maybe sort of have in your mind what you think you're going to go with anyway. But maybe you need some reassurance, or maybe you need to hear someone else's opinion and totally disagree with it, and then just go for it, you
Good,
know?
good. Is there anything afterwards, like after you kind of shaved it off? Obviously, you said, you know, after the initial kind of grade one, you kind of thought, hey, like it actually looks quite good. Was there anything that helped you, like maybe that trip to Walmart or something that made, because I think for some guys, even after they shave it off, they still have a few doubts, right? Maybe they haven't had loads of reactions or anything like that. Was there anything like post shave that you did that you kind of felt like really reassured you that, yeah, it does look good, and I do feel good about it?
The positive reactions from people really made it, really helped out. But I also think that just the realization that, okay, I shaved it off. The alternative was that I had like 4 or 5 inch long hair all around with this like ugly bald spot in the middle. And this looks pretty good in comparison.
A lot of guys as well, they will compare their new kind of shaved head to when they had perfect hair years and years and years ago. It's really key what you said then, to kind of think this buzz cut or shaved head in comparison to how it was looking, a few hours before or a few weeks before, when, yeah, you had the bald spot, the receding hair, the powders, hairspray, all of that stuff is actually a really good look. And it's important not to compare perfect hair with the shaved head, because the perfect hair wasn't the reality anymore.
Right, because like, I mean, it was easy to think back to when I was in high school, like when I was 18 and I'd come into school and I'd go down to the art room because I'd, wake up late or whatever, and I'd be like in the mirror with like my waxes and my pomades and my gels, and I'd be like styling it all different ways, and my hair was all thick and silky and like beautiful, perfect, all the way coverage and stuff. It's easy to think about that, but I feel like when you see the reality, and actually, as an example, one of my customers who I actually don't mind, but he would come in and make fun of, he'd be like, oh, you're going bald, right? You're going bald. And we'd like laugh, but it would stick with me But at the same time, this guy has the horseshoe all the way down here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's like this long, and then he has this one like tuft that is long in the middle. And after shaving it, I'm thinking to myself, like, not only how it would look for me to have like my long hair and then like the bald spot here, but then I'm thinking like, so I could shave it, I could get used to it now, realize it's really okay, or I could aspire to do that. I think that really helped me to be like, yeah, this is a better alternative.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, 100%. And especially, with your shirt, your tie, your fresh shaved head, it's a great look. It genuinely is. It's 2020. It's a really good look. So no, I'm pleased for you, Luke. That's fantastic. I got to thank you as well. I'm really, really pleased that my story and the other people's stories could help you. Just kind of give yourself that little nudge, because I really believe as well, it doesn't matter how like low you are with it all, you've got everything you need to move past it. Like you already have it. You don't need to buy anything. The most you need is a razor, right? You don't need
Right.
any like subscriptions. You don't need any surgeries. You don't need any of that stuff. Like you literally just have to kind of dig deep, get uncomfortable for a bit, and once you're past that like uncomfortable phase, you can just totally move on from it. And I just want to try and like just help people realize that is what it's all about, really. After like you said, they watch a video and there'll just be like one thing in someone's story or something that clicks, something that they can relate to, and then they'll just think like, wow, like this guy has done it and he feels so much better. Like I want to feel like that too. Like I want to be confident. I want to be able to talk to people about this. And then they do it. They go away and do it, and they themselves feel so much better for it. So no, it's like this is. I mean, I'm totally dedicated to this now, and so thank you for having this
I
chat.
swear I like your style. Put you in Chanel cause it's just perfect for your smile. Girl, I swear for you I'd run the world, I'd run the miles. The way you look at me, I think I'm going insane. It's crazy how we started out to what the love became.